we're starting a little early if somebody did. I came in early to check whether the video was good and whether the audio was any good. And since it was fine, I just let it roll. YouTube is not convenient like StreamYard. I can't see and test that before I actually go live. But StreamYard wants like $20 a month if I want to be able to keep using it. Actually, I think it was more. I think they wanted like $50 a month if you wanted to have 1080p. And I mean, do I care? It looks better. There we go. Now I've got the window higher. I'm a little more likely to look at the camera. It's so funny. It makes me look like I've got a lazy eye when I look at my screen. That is so funny. I mean, I guess it's because the camera's too close. I mean, it gets a little better. Hey, we got people. Welcome, folks. We're starting a little early, a couple minutes. Post some questions. I mean, I've got my notes for what the plan is, but this is really meant to be a more interactive live. Because otherwise, I mean, I've kind of already posted my opinion in prior videos. I mean, this is meant to be, what are you guys doing? What do you want to know about what I'm doing? I'm also still trying to figure out the best place to put the camera versus my view of the live and the chat, because I'm still messing with my eyes here, is what it is. Well, until somebody puts some, well, now we're back down to one. Until somebody puts something in chat, I guess I will just run through kind of my thoughts. I kind of carry what's in the picture, in the thumbnail. I normally carry my Kimber Ultra, and I've carried that for 20 years now. I normally carry no spare mag. I'm lazy about it. If I needed more rounds than were in the gun, I'm probably fucked anyway. I do always carry the knife. Even when I don't carry the gun, I always have the knife unless I'm somewhere that you just can't have anything. That's the new one, though. That Civivi bow is, I just got that the other day. I'm like a week in on carrying that, and I've got a intro video for it going live Saturday or maybe Tuesday. And then I'm going to, after I've got a little more time with it, I literally have used it like twice other than intentional testing. I'll do a real video of how did it work out? You know, is it worthwhile? Am I still using it? I usually carry a flashlight. In this case, this is overkill, but it's what I carry because it's what I've got. This is a Phoenix LD12. But, I mean, anything. You're using it to find, you know, keys you dropped in the grass. You're using it to look in the engine compartment or underneath your car, you know, in shadows or at night. I have never needed a flashlight for anything serious. It's always been, what happened to that? Where is that? Or what is wrong with something? I think that at home, that can be a different story. If you're talking a home defense scenario, even if nothing happened, even if it was just you heard a bump in the night and you're going to check it out, that's a different thing. But carrying it, a little tiny AAA light, you know, one of those, what do you call them? Little squeeze lights, as long as you can lock it on, They work. I used to carry one of those in my keychain. Battery Junction used to throw them in if you made a decent sized order, and you could buy them separately. And I used to buy, like, I'd order a bunch of batteries or something from them, and I'd throw in 2 or 3 of those. Let's see here. I do occasionally carry a fixed blade. Come on, folks, put something in chat, even just to know you're a real person. We're back down to 1. I do occasionally carry a fixed blade. This is one that I made. And the reason I would carry the fixed blade is usually not to need more knife. It's because I know I'm going to need the knife. Like a camping trip, a hike, just any scenario where, like, I know I'm going to use the knife. And I mean, that could be as simple as lunch. Folding a knife's great because you can always have it with you. It folds up, it's convenient, it's out of the way. But I mean, something like this is awful handy when you actually need to use it comparatively. And the only downside is you're carrying around a fixed blade knife. In certain social situations, that's not okay, or at least is going to get you looked at funny. In other scenarios, it's just in the way. I carry this, I use a tech lock, and I carry this sideways at my back. And it works. It's kind of out of the way, but like in the car, it's a pain. It's fine for short rides, but like I wouldn't want to take a road trip with it. It does not conceal. If you want to conceal a knife at your back, it is not the movies. The knife is going to have to be shorter than you think. And the sheath is going to be tricky. Normally, it's going to be a sheath that actually sits below your belt and hangs. Because if it sits on your belt, it's very tough. You've added layers to the sheath that make it stick out even further, and it doesn't conceal. This doesn't conceal, but it's not intended to. The other fixed blade I carry is this guy, and this was actually one of the first fixed blade knives I ever did carry as a regular thing. I've had this since 96, I think so. Summer of 96. Yeah, I had to think that through. This is a Jim Largent knife. He is a custom knife maker in the Southwest. This is, it's natural materials for the handle, and the varnish that he used on the bone isn't the greatest. I don't know what the scoop was with that, but beautiful knife. I wish that would show better, but it's got some beautiful file work, and it's a very pretty knife in general. It doesn't attract attention in a negative way. It has some elegance to it, and in the sheath, it doesn't look big. It doesn't attract a lot of attention. It's a little less flashy and obnoxious than a lot of things. And particularly when I live in more rural areas, I've lived a lot of places. If you wear this in most of Connecticut, you're going to get some funny looks. You're better off carrying one of those utility knife holsters and an obvious utility knife. And even then, if you don't look like you're working a job where that makes sense, people look at you funny. You just carry a Leatherman or a pocket knife. But here, in Bernie, when I lived in various places in Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Western New York, nobody thinks twice. If you carry a K-bar or something, okay, they might look. look at you and go, well, what the hell are you doing, man? Chocolate milk, elixir of life. I actually am working on the video that covers all this. So to me, it feels a little redundant. I feel like I just did this because I just did the video on the Kimber. I carry with two holsters normally, not at one time, but I carry with a Versamax 2 and then a Kirkpatrick leather high ride concealment holster. And I've had this one like 6 months longer than I've had this one. They're both about 20 years old. And honestly, they don't look it. Good leather, if you take care of it, holds up really well. And I've always been careful to not get these all sweaty and then leave them. I always wear an undershirt if I'm using this, with very rare exceptions. But it's the goal is to never have it directly against my skin when I'm going to be sweating. These, if you've never used a VM2, get one. I can't say enough. They are the ultimate concealment holster if you're not doing like appendix carry or small back carry or something like that. If you can do inside the waistband and you're not using one of these, you're doing it wrong. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't know of anybody making a better holster. The Kirkpatrick leather is a much cheaper holster. It's a much simpler design, designed and built to a less refined standard, but very tough, good quality leather, good quality stitching. It has held up wonderfully. The biggest difference is it doesn't have to survive being in your pants. So like they didn't need a metal strip going around, which definitely makes it easier. This piece is just an extra piece of leather. There we go. It is just an extra piece of leather that is relatively stiff and stitched and glued in place, which stiffens up the mouth. I've never had an issue with it trying to collapse on me. It sits pretty high in your belt. Obviously, bottom of the belt loop. You've got that below your belt line. And I've always considered it a very easy to conceal holster, but and obviously it would be cocked and locked. So you've still got to conceal all this. So you've got to have some sort of cover garment. If you don't need to conceal it, great. But in that case, there's a million options for holsters, whatever you want. I've had really good luck with these. This is the one I think there's a lot of replacements for. However, a lot of the ones that cost less don't hold their shape well, don't have a good feel for the gun, and don't hold up. I've used a bunch for other guns and just never was happy. And gone. So on the topic of taking care of holsters and making them last, sweat is what kills them. It isn't general wear and tear. It isn't age. A properly treated and finished holster will not wear out. It will be destroyed. And getting them wet, letting them soak in something, sweat over the course of a day where you don't then get it wiped down, get it sprayed with some treatment, that will kill them. You want to occasionally respray a holster. If you are in a hot, sweaty environment, respray it with a water sealant. Or paint it inside and out. This is the kind of thing you can get at any tandy. You can get them online. Any of the water protectants. Just don't use a chrome-based one that will rust things. So if you're looking at different finishes and things like that for holsters, you want the natural ones. You want non-chrome. And they'll say, if you're looking at that kind of thing, it'll say, because there's a big difference particularly if you're buying leather, chrome treated or the chromium, or it'll say, versus other methods, you don't want to use chrome. It's cheaper. It's a much faster, easier process for them to do, but it will rust guns and knives like quickly. It's a chemical process, and the chemicals that are left over are corrosive. But it's great for clothing. It's great for like handbags, accessories, things like that. Just don't put metal in it where it's going to sit in contact. When it comes to the knives, whether it's fixed blade or the folder, I don't decide based on their utility for self-defense. To me, their value as an EDC item is general utility. I'm opening lunch. I'm cutting up lunch. I am trimming a pencil. I am, opening a package, whether it's, something I just bought or a mail package, as in postal service, folks, postal service. To me, something like this is perfectly fine. A littler knife is just fine. I've always carried relatively small ones. The biggest thing I've carried on any kind of regular basis is a medium Voyager, cold steel Voyager Tonto. I had the one with the serrated edge, and I carried that, high school, college on. I carry it off and on now. I'm going to beat on this knife. I'm going to do bad things to this knife. When I'm going with a buddy to work on a car or a boat or anything like that, that's the knife I bring. Saltwater environments, that's the knife I bring. It's a very good stainless steel. It's a all polymer handle, and it's disposable. I don't care if anything happens to it. It's one of my criteria for knives that I'm going to EDC is it cannot be nice enough that I'm going to cry if I lose it, which is one of the issues with this guy, because this is not cheap. It's not super expensive. Jim is not an expensive knife maker, or at least he wasn't at the time. I haven't looked at what he's charging these days, but this is still probably 2 or 3 times what I would like to be carrying if I was going to lose it. But I don't carry this in an environment where I'm probably going to lose it. And a fixed blade is harder to lose than a folding. But anyway, back on topic. Why did I like the Kimber for carry? Why not something else? Well, back in that time period, because remember we're talking 2001, most of the things in that size category, other than 1911s, were 9mm or 380. And 9mm was not as good as it is now. The bullet choices were not as good. And I liked 1911s. I've always liked 1911s. I have a lot of time with 1911s. So given my choice, a 1911 in 45 at the time was a great option. Keep in mind, we were also still in the Brady era assault weapon ban, so 10 rounds was the max. So there was no benefit of a double stack system. I owned my HK USB compact, and I had mags for it, but they were 10 rounders. I didn't predate the ban. I have a different one now. I had a 40 caliber back then. I've got a 9 now. But at the time, I had 10 round mags. So I'm like, 8 rounds in the Kimber or 11 rounds in the HK, and 40 was better than 9. It was one of the reasons it existed. But the 40 was snappy, and particularly in the HK, never really grew to love that setup. I'm not against 40. I just think that it is a solution in search of a problem in today's world. If you reinstitute a 10-round ban, there's something to be said for that. However, it is not a replacement for 9mm. It is in my opinion, a replacement for 45 in guns where you can't get 10 rounds in the magazine in 45. Because for somebody who needs a 9mm for recoil control, 40 is more aggressive. It's snappy. It's a rough round to shoot, even in the relatively lighter loads. By the time you get down to one that isn't as bad as, is equivalent to 9, you're equivalent to 9. You might as well be shooting a 9mm. People keep coming in and leaving. Like, I don't know what they think this is about. They don't even stay long enough to find out what it's about. They take one look at my ugly mug and leave. I guess they come in, figure out nobody's watching, and leave. What else do we have in my notes? When do I carry inside the waistband versus outside the waistband? I carry inside the waistband most of the time. The VM2 with the Kimber or equivalent is so comfy that the only reason I would carry outside the waistband is I'm going to carry all day, and it's cold enough that I know I can leave on that outer layer that is heavy enough to conceal the outside the waistband gun all day. I'm not going to be inside in an office. I'm not going to be in a store where it's too warm for it. It takes a little more planning. I can conceal the Kimber in the Versamax 2 under a pulled out t-shirt, if I have to. So to me, okay, I'm wearing an outer garment that I may take off, but if I do, I can just pull my t-shirt out and drape it over it, and I'm okay. Now, obviously, if it's summertime and I'm going to be sweating, that's an issue in terms of corrosion and eating into my holster. But you can do it. Normally, in that situation, I wear a base layer wicking shirt, usually a sleeveless one, and then the t-shirt. And if you've never done it, that sounds like it would be warmer. It's actually cooler, because you can wear a lot of different t-shirts that are not necessarily great at wicking and keeping you cool. But that wicking base layer, it works. You're a lot more comfy. And I mean, they're skin tight. It's not getting bunched up anywhere or chafing or anything. It's just a basically elastic shirt. I usually just buy the cheap ones off Amazon and throw them out, because even the Under Armour ones don't hold up. What else? Although I gotta say, the last Under Armour one I bought has held up. It's a sleeveless one, and it's held up. The outside the waistband, I very often wear it when I'm running errands, and I'm not going to take my jacket off. I'm not going to take, like, if I've got a flannel on, or something like this, a regular hoodie. I'm not sure what the hell they call this. It's a hoodie, but it's like a weird material. In that case, I'll wear the outside the waistband. It's just more comfy. And I know that outer layer is not coming off. Conceals well enough. It's not perfect. No outside the waistband holster really is. But nobody looking at me casually, or even a cop in most situations, is going to see, oh yeah, they're carrying. If the cop is really taking a look at me, yes, they're probably going to notice that I'm carrying. They're also going to notice that I'm minding my own business, running my errands, not worried about it. It meets the legal need in some situations of being concealed and not inciting a riot kind of situation. Other considerations, the outside the waistband is easier to draw from. It's easier to get the gun in and out of the holster. But the VM2 is designed, that mouth opens up a little wider. It's actually beveled just slightly, and it doesn't collapse at all. I mean, I'm putting a good bit of pressure on. It collapses more on this side, but the main opening is firm. There is a metal band. You can see the all the way around U-shaped metal band, and I mean it's pretty hefty. That works. It keeps it open. It keeps it from collapsing, even in your pants with a snug belt. Uh, when I carry that, excuse me, coffee wore off a couple hours ago. When I carry that, I usually have my belt pretty snug because I don't want it slipping downward with the weight of the gun. I'm not a thin individual, as you know. If you watch my channel, you're well aware. I'm not massively overweight, but I am certainly not in shape in terms of my belly. And it's funny. It's literally a belly. Like I'm not side to side. I'm fine. It's just I drink soda and I eat pasta, and I like them more than I like to do a lot of cardio. Is what it is. Like I never quite get rid of it. Even when I'm really good about what I eat and really good about my workouts for 6 or 8 months at a time, doesn't seem to matter. So I just gave up. I'd rather enjoy life and not worry about it. And it doesn't get any worse. Like it when it starts to get worse, I get it back under control, but I can't get the other way. I can't go all the way the other way and actually be trim. I'm sure there's some system to that. I'm sure there's some drug I could take that would help, or I could do it for like 3 years straight, or I could just enjoy my life. But it does mean that holsters and a gun on my side does need a little extra tension over just the pants. So the belt is normally pretty tight, and the holster doesn't collapse. When I carry outside the waistband, it doesn't matter because it's not trying to collapse the holster. Welcome in. Feel free to post a question, comment, anything like that in the chat, or even just say hi. We're well into the topic. Like I'm pretty much done with my part of the topic. So if you don't have any questions, watch the replay. I don't know. What else we got on here? That's about it. I've already covered everything about my choice of EDC itself. In my case, one of the reasons I like the 1911 is that I shoot 1911s a lot. And the initial learning to use a 1911 properly, once you get that out of the way, they are easier to shoot well than almost anything else. It's a very easy gun to shoot accurately and quickly, even under stress, even under a lot of stress. And I like having the thumb safety under stress. I like to have the option of safety is now on. Even if I yank that trigger under stress, it's not going to go bang. Because my drill in my head, the muscle memory of I want to shoot is thumb safety off, pull trigger. Finish, thumb safety on. So then if I'm getting into the car, if I'm climbing a ladder, if I'm getting behind cover, if I'm just running away, I can't sympathetically squeeze the trigger while I'm gripping the gun. That happens. That happens a lot. It happens way more than people think. It is one of the things that has caused the Glock for law enforcement to routinely have a very heavy trigger versus what we would normally consider a normal trigger in the rest of the world. Like the New York trigger, a lot of the law enforcement trigger setups for Glocks are very heavy. And it's simply because they don't have a safety, a manual safety. And they basically recreated their old revolvers because you don't want to accidentally squeeze it when you grip the grip. And it still happens. In my case, the particular carry gun I use, the particular 1911 alloy frame, lighter, shorter slide, lighter. It's not just the slide, it's a shorter slide and barrel. Those are two of the heaviest parts of an alloy frame 1911. You trim both of those, you save a lot of weight. I don't care about the length on its own. I care about the saved weight. Where I care about the size is the grip. I don't want a fatter grip. I don't want a blocky grip, and I don't want a longer grip because that's going to make it harder to conceal. The other reason the 1911 is easy to conceal, which is this is all covered in the video that I'm working on right now. It's rounded on the top of the slide. If you have a squared off 1911 at the top, like it's harshly squared, not rounded in and then just a flat top. That's not a concealment gun. That's a race gun. That's a competition-oriented gun. But the traditional rounded slide, the frame narrows in and is rounded a little bit. The trigger guard then is even narrower. That tapers the holster. See how that tapers? Tapers in the front, tapers in the back. It gets narrower as it goes. So the part in your pants is a taper. It isn't a like 2x4 in your pants. So much more comfortable, so much easier to conceal. It's just nicer all around. There are other guns like that. Most of them are not in the same power bracket. They're wussy little guns. Most of the polymer frame stuff can't do that. The way they work doesn't allow it. So you're still talking mostly metal frame guns. And nobody gave me any questions. Nobody had any comments. And we're about an hour in. So I'm calling it a night. Take care. Have fun. Stay safe, y'all. And we will edit this up and post it another time.